Hi, I'm Fiznik, and we are now at the 2019 ADR BC Symposium. I'm together with Barry Penner, the Executive Director of BCICAC. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Fiznik.
So, Barry, you will be talking about making Vancouver an international and domestic arbitration hub. What will be your addressing points on the panel?
I'll talk a little bit about our history, where we've come from, where we are, and where we hope to go. The BC International Commercial Arbitration Centre was established in 1986, really part of the overall provincial government initiative around Expo 86 to try and make Vancouver more of an international player in all things business, and particularly in the world of finance. There were a number of initiatives, but one of those was the creation of the BC International Commercial Arbitration Centre. Over the years, things have evolved, and maybe not quite the way people had predicted. Whereas the majority of our work is actually focused on domestic arbitration. We still do some international work, and we're looking to do more. And one of the things I'll be talking about is a recent announcement that our center has been approved by something called the Internet Corporation for Assignment of Numbers and Names, ICANN. Essentially run the ground rules for the internet, and they've approved us to handle disputes and resolving those disputes when people are disagreeing about who should be using a domain name, a website name. So this is an exciting step forward for us into the international realm. It's given us a lot of global recognition in the internet space. Businesses that are dealing with securing domain names are taking notice that we've now been approved as only the second dispute resolution provider in the Western Hemisphere for ICANN.
And what is BCICAC doing in terms of preparing the arbitrators for these new opportunities?
We've reached out to our existing base of mediators and arbitrators. We have about 130 people on our roster currently. Not all of those have experience with domain names, but we have been working on domain name dispute resolution for CIRA, the Canadian counterpart, for the .ca address. We've been doing that now for 17 years. And I think based on that experience and skill set, that helped us become successful with our application to ICANN for the global body. They manage, if you can believe it, more than 1,200 different domain names, or I guess they're called top-level domain names. .com, of course, the most obvious, but .org, .net, .info, and now there's a plethora of new names that have been approved, like .eco, for example. So with this burgeoning number of top-level domain names, it's leading to more disputes, with, allegations of cyber squatting. Some people start up a business to grab a whole bunch of possible names and then try to sell them to the highest bidder. Sometimes those names happen to be very similar to businesses that are already operating, and those businesses take a different view about whether they should have that name. So that's where these disputes come from.
So you'll be talking that you've been doing this for more than 17 years, especially in the internet domains disputes. And you also mentioned some of the advantages, but what will be the challenges of this new sphere of work that you will be handling from now on?
Well, we can't really judge what the workload will be like. We know that the other center in North America that's handling these disputes for ICANN has thousands of disputes a year that they handle. This would, if we got that kind of volume, that'll be a challenge to scale up for that. But we're anticipating maybe in the first year or two that we might have a volume of 100, 200, 300 cases. It's hard to know. But we are in the process right now of planning forward, developing a new website, particularly for this. We've established a new division of the Arbitration Centre called the Canadian International Internet Dispute Resolution Centre, or CIIDRC. That's our acronym. So we're in the process now of developing a new website specifically for this, because the idea is that this will be online dispute resolution. It's really a part of the evolution and innovation around resolving disputes without having to get on an airplane and fly somewhere to do an arbitration. The idea is these will be, for the most part, resolved online with people uploading the relevant documents, and if there are hearings, they will be virtual hearings via the internet.
So back to the symposium, you've been, of course, many times presenter at the ADRBC Symposium for many years. What will be your impression for this year's symposium?
Well, I'm particularly enjoying the focus on the involvement of First Nations in the resource development sector. Of course, in British Columbia, you can hardly pick up a newspaper, either online or the old-fashioned way, without reading about issues to do with First Nations and resource development. So I've been very interested in hearing the presenters talking about their approaches and their involvement in constructive engagement between the proponents, governments, and First Nations, who all have an interest in whether or not projects go ahead, and if so, in what way, to try and minimize the impacts to the environment, to people, and to cultures. These are all very important to British Columbians.
Very good. Any last remarks for our viewers as we are here at the Vosk Center?
Well, if you haven't been to the symposium before, make sure you come next year and book early, because it does fill up.
Thank you very much for this interview, Barry. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks, President.
Thank you.